people are reach out to a financial advisor. Number one, they're afraid. Oh my God, I'm gonna pay an arm and a leg. This guy's gonna speak to me. I'm not gonna stand anything. I don't want to feel stupid, and that stops the process, right? So number one, I would recommend that people talk to one, two people. Right? People don't do business with a company. That's the one thing. People do business with people.
Welcome to the Dalitalks show. Thank you so much for being here. My guest today is Jorge Loyo, who is a regional vice president for Primerica. I invited him to the show because he's got a wealth of knowledge about finances, how to get your money, on good status so that you can budget and be good to go for retirement. So without further ado, here's Jorge. Welcome, Jorge.
Hi, Dali. Welcome. Thank you very much for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be here and share a little bit with you. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Yeah, and we did a conversation on Clubhouse, which I absolutely loved. And you mentioned so many good things on there that I feel like my audience here on the Dolly Talk show deserve to listen to. So can you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started in this world of finance and what it is that you do now?
Absolutely, and I think that that's a great place to start because a lot of people have the misconception that when you work in finance, you studied finance, your background is in finance, and you know everything about finance, and that's not always true. I was born and raised in Mexico, and at the age of 14, I relocated to the United States. I attended a military academy in Wayne, Pennsylvania, Valley Forge Military Academy. And then I did my junior college there, and then I ended up transferring after 5 years. I ran away from the cold, and I needed some beach and sun, so I headed down to Miami. My bachelor's actually was in international business and MIS, and I did do a little bit of finance. One of my majors was in finance, which, by the way, helped me in no way, shape, or form in the future. And I'll share a little bit about that later. But that's where I graduated. My master's ended up being in management information systems. So my professional career was actually in software development. My last corporate gig, I was the CTO for a small software company. So that was my path. I was in IT. Now, when I got married, my wife and I, we realized, she had a good position, I had a good position. We were okay, or so we thought. But as soon as we got married, we did understand that money is one of the big stress, one of the big pain points for couples. And money is one of the major reasons why couples end up fighting. And we didn't want to become a stat. So we actually reached out for help, and we got introduced to a financial representative. She came into the house, and honestly, I was blown away because she was super young. She looked like she was just getting started, and I had imparted a bachelor's in finance. And this young woman was just dropping knowledge across the kitchen table. I was like, why is it that I spent time and money in my education? I didn't learn what she just said. So that was the initial spark of interest because I figured I can't be the only idiot making these money mistakes. So I got interested in learning more, and that was the beginning of the journey. Eventually, like most people, they get disillusioned with where they are. They're climbing that corporate ladder and realize that's the wrong building that the ladder is leaning against, and eventually turn into a career. But at the beginning, it was just totally unrelated to my career and not expected. I never expected to be doing what I do now. But it was just, realized how I needed the help, and asking around. I'm like, man, I'm not the only one that's having this an issue. And that just kind of turned into maybe there's something more than just getting myself educated, but doing more and giving back to the community. So that's how I actually got started in financial services.
Wow, that's incredible. I like that story very much because it tells you about the importance that you took of your own personal finances, and you saw the value in teaching others about it. So here you are, working with this huge firm, and I know that it has sometimes people have misconceptions about it, but I've noticed that the main focus for this organization has been to give very high value education to their representatives. And I think that that's what people are looking for. So whereas you did not, since you did not go to college, you have gotten the appropriate training and education there. And I know that it is constant education, right? It's always, your organization always keeps you up to date with all of the changes that go on in the finance world. So
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, there are certain fundamentals. If you study to be a doctor, yeah, you got to keep up with technology and you got to keep up with, you know, advances in the medical field. But at the end of the day, there's some core fundamentals that don't change. Same on the financial side. There's some core fundamentals that persist, right? They are the same. Now we do have to keep up with law changes. We do have to keep up with technological advances to make the experience better and add more value to the end consumer. But in the end, there's certain core philosophies and fundamentals that just go on. They're never changing.
yeah, I love that. And I wanted to stress that because I know that there are a lot of misconceptions of people. Sometimes people think that they have to go to one of those huge firms in order for their finances to be managed well, but that's not the case. So let's dive deep into the fundamentals. What do you have for us?
So, and that's a great question. You know, my personal philosophy is that financial products are not always a complete solution. And the reason why I believe that is because if that were the case, look, nobody would get into debt. If they declare bankruptcy, they will never go back into debt. We realize that's not, we understand that's not really the case. We tend to make the same mistakes with our money over and over and over. So there's something that I like to refer to it as people's map, MAP, which is the M stands for mindset, the A stands for actions, and the P stands for the plan. The plan is not going to work unless you're mentally ready to take action and implement that plan. So I like to have these conversations before implementing the fundamental piece of the product solutions. We need to first understand what our mindset is, what our perception is about money, and that this perception, whether we have a positive or a toxic relationship with money, really is a result of what we learned when we were kids. You know, you've heard the saying that more is caught than taught, and that is so true because unconsciously, you know, willing or unwillingly, we learn things as we're growing up about, oh, rich people are evil, money is a root of all evil, and automatically we're now shifting our mindset as we grow up to self-sabotage because we don't want to be evil. And so there are certain things that we learn when we're little that translate into emotions and habits that really can impact and negatively affect the way our financial outcome. So the fundamental piece, I think, is first we need to address why we feel about money a certain way. Maybe make some adjustments on that area first. Then we need to analyze what actions are we taking with our money? Are we self-sabotaging? Do we have just the basics, not understanding the needs versus wants philosophy, or understanding it but not caring about it? And then finally, I think that a good strategy, structure, products backed up by the right actions and mindset, that can be a total game changer for a family. But that's where I think the fundamental piece starts first here, then on paper, then in reality.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned that money mindset and the notion that money is evil because, you know, as a child, I remember thinking, oh yeah, rich people are bad because they do bad things with money. And I translate it as the money is what makes people bad when really it's just people mismanaging money or using it for something that's not so good. And ironically, I just had a conversation about that yesterday with one of my daughters because she said something like that. And it bothered me so much. I said, no, no, no. Money is not good or bad. Money is an object. It's the people that manage it, the ones
That's
making
right.
those decisions.
But I think that money amplifies who you are at the core. If
Right.
you are a great person who wants to help, and you happen to have a lot of money, you're gonna do more good things with that money. If at the core you're a bad person, you have a lot of money, well, you can imagine all the bad things you can do, right? But yeah, money is just a vehicle. What money does is it gives you options and freedom to choose. I think that's it. That's what it is. And I think that there's a negative misconception about wealth accumulation, right? Rich people are bad. No, it's life is not about just large bank accounts and material possessions. It's about the experiences that we get out of the best version of our life. Now,
Right.
it just so happened that money can give us options to experience a better version of the life we choose, or more options. I love traveling, right? But if I have a choice, I want to go to Orlando or I want to go to Fiji. Both are traveling, but money gives you better options.
Mhm.
And I think that understanding that helps people remove that negative perception about money, and accepting that accumulating wealth, it's our responsibility, because what we build in life is a platform where our kids will begin to build theirs, and that's a very important thing to remember, right? And what we believe, ultimately our kids are going to believe.
Yeah. Yep. The other thing that you mentioned is self-sabotage. And I know that right now somebody's watching or listening to this and they're like, how do I self-sabotage if I have these mindsets about money? And one example that I know that I did when I was younger was that I didn't trust the banks or the financial system. So in a way, that's like self-sabotaging yourself from partaking in that investment opportunity. So can you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that aspect of the sabotage?
Absolutely. And before I answer, can I ask a question? So, in not trusting the financial institutions, which by the way, a lot of people still don't.
Mhm.
Why do you think that is? Is it something that you maybe heard?
I think that part of it has to do with the media and how they portray people in Wall Street, and they connect Wall Street with greed, with money being evil, and with they're going to take your money and you're going to get nothing out of it. So because of that reason, I remember I was in the military and they would always offer the TSP, the thrift savings plan. And I always was like, I don't know, it sounds really good, but is it really going to work? But part of that was due to a lack of education on how it works and how your money can be protected.
Absolutely. And you nailed it. Like it's lack, is not being aware and lack of access to all the facts, right? Because what the news tend to give out only bad news, because
Yeah.
that's what sells.
Mhm.
So once you hear somebody speaking the financial lingo and jargon on TV, I'm like, that's basic Chinese to me. I don't want to deal with it. The other reason is, we tend to work really hard for our money. We if you're a teacher, a coach, or whatever your profession is, you work 8, 9, 10 hours a day. You come home exhausted. You don't want to sit down and put the financial advisor hat and say, now I'm going to be doing our finances. Nobody wants to do that.
Mhm.
And people tend to avoid the money conversation because, number one, they don't understand it. What they hear on TV is confusing to them, and that just delays perpetuates the issue, right?
Mhm.
So lack of information, lack of awareness, it's definitely uh, one of the major issues. One of the reasons, or one of the major negative impacts, can be, you go to the mall, right? When somebody gets depressed, what did I do? I used to live by myself, my entire family in Mexico. So whenever I would get a little down or I had a little issue at work, what would I do? I would go to Best Buy. I'm a gadgets guy, so I boom, like, buy something, and that's impulse buys give you that immediate gratification, makes you feel good for a very short period of time, until you get that bill at the end of the month. It's like, oh my God, what did I do?
Mhm.
And we end up being in that cycle over and over and over. That's how we self-sabotage our future, right? We tend to sacrifice future stability for immediate gratification.
Oh, absolutely. I have seen so many people that do that. Okay, so now we know about the money mindset. How do we get into action?
And that's a great thing. I'm actually just reading a book called Atomic Habits
Okay.
by James Clear, and definitely I recommend the book. It talks about these people that's been smoking for 20 years and they just quit cold turkey. That's unbelievable. I respect people who are able to do that, but for the majority of people, that's really hard. Why? Because there are triggers that lead to a particular action. So how can we begin, or how can we shift our habits, is by tiny little actions per day. One of the first things is, like Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. So have a goal. Now that goal cannot be just, I want to have $1 million. That goal has to be emotional. So one of the first things that I coach people on is the 5 whys. So what is your goal? Why is that your goal? And why do you want that? And dig deeper and deeper and deeper, asking why, until we actually arrive at the real emotional root as to why people want to achieve that particular goal. Now, once you have that emotional attachment to a goal, now you can start taking action, because now you have an actual reason. Having a lot of money, there's no reason behind that. Why do you want more money? Well, because I want to be able to provide, live in a better home. Why do you want to live in a better home? And start digging deeper onto its actual and emotional attachment to that goal. And that's what can help you begin the process. And then the next step is actually setting a plan. So that's your someday goal, but what are we going to do in the next 5 years? What are you going to do in the next 3 years? What are you going to do in the next year, in the next month? And you break it down to today. It's a lot of people fall into analysis paralysis. They want to learn everything before they take action, right? Knowledge is power. That's false. Knowledge is only potential power, because if you don't implement it, it's useless. Mm-hmm. So it is, what can we do right now so that we can start moving in the right direction? And with small wins, that can start to compound, just like an investment account. Small little decisions in the right direction will compound to a better future. So to begin, to answer the question a different way, just to begin, you just have to begin. You have to take the first step, understanding that you are going to make mistakes. Of course you are. We're humans. You may take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But the idea is that as you move forward, you create momentum, you learn. When you make a mistake, you simply adjust and move forward. And it's just beginning now. Whether you feel you're ready or not, or whether you feel you know enough or not, it's irrelevant. Begin. And that's what starts creating that momentum.
I love it. I love it. So we have the mindset, you take action and you implement the plan. So let's say somebody's watching right now, they're like, okay, Jorge, I'm ready. I'm ready for you to help me out. What is the first thing that I should do before I meet with a financial advisor?
That's a good question, because when people reach out to a financial advisor, number one, they're afraid. Oh my God, I'm going to pay an arm and a leg. This guy's going to speak to me. I'm not going to stand anything. I don't want to feel stupid. And that stops the process, right? So number one, I would recommend that people talk to 1, 2 people, right? People don't do business with a company. That's the one thing. People do business with people. At the end of the day, life insurance is life insurance. IRAs are IRAs, and mutual funds are mutual funds. Products are not what makes any one particular company special. So you have to make sure that the person you choose to work with is one that, number one, you can relate to. Number two, you feel like they understand your particular situation. Because let's be honest, even though there are certain fundamentals, not every solution is the same. We're all different. We have different goals. And we need to not only understand what the needs of the client are, but also we need to make sure that the person that is providing that solution really cares. I mean, you probably heard the saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And especially in the financial field, I think that's very, very important. So number one is interview a couple of people, see who you feel more comfortable with. Ask for references. Ask your friends and family, hey, who helps you with your finances? Ask for help, which is one of the things that as a community we should get better at. We don't have those money discussions as often as we should. Money should be discussed at the kitchen table with our kids and our family members, right? To see, hey, who's helping you with this? Can you send me to your tax professional? Can you recommend your investment broker? Okay, we need those contacts. So interview people, make sure that you have a good connection with them. and ask questions. When you walk in, at the end of the day, you have to choose the advisor, but also for the people watching this, understand that the advisor also has to choose you,
Yeah.
right? It goes both ways. I sometimes choose not to work with a couple of people because I know it's not going to be a good mutual conversation. So you gotta choose who to work with and understand they also have to choose you. So that's number one. Um, and then you begin, once you have somebody that you can lock arms with and move forward in implementing a solution, then you can start addressing what the fundamentals are product wise.
I love that. I'm very glad that you pointed out that the advisor also has the choice to who to work with, because yeah,
Absolutely.
the chemistry has to be there, and also the style, because when you have somebody who's very adamant about accepting things that you might be teaching them, then obviously it's not going to work out. And the other thing too
Yep.
is if you have somebody who's very pushy, then on either side, then it will
That's
not
right.
work out. The other thing too is the education. I remember that was very big for me when I was a lot younger. I wanted to go to someone who was not going to make me feel dumb. I wanted them to like say everything in very clear terms, because I'm not a finance expert. I don't know all that jargon. So that was really important. And I think that that also made me feel a lot more comfortable. The other aspect that I remember was making sure that I didn't feel ashamed or judged. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why so many people, when they know they need the help, they don't ask for it,
Bingo.
because they're like, oh, I don't know. This person's a finance person. They probably have lots of money. And here I am. I have my centavitos. And so, but can you speak to that? Or how do you make sure that
Yes.
people feel comfortable?
Absolutely. I mean, look, it's like going to the doctor, right? Something may be hurting, but at the end of the day, when you go to the doctor, you shouldn't be thinking, oh my God, I don't want to tell him about this because I don't want him to know. He's
Mhm.
a doctor. He
Yeah.
cannot prescribe or help you if you don't actually speak about what the symptoms. In the seminar now, the doctor is not gonna walk out the door and Facebook. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe it. Doctors don't do that. Financial professionals don't do that. It's we are professionals. So I think that understanding that just like a doctor needs to first diagnose before they can offer a potential solution to
Right.
your illness. Same as with financial services. You need to have a conversation with your financial doctor and tell them all about what you got going on before they can say, okay, well, the best course of action will be to begin here and then do this. I would say that we all went through it. And is that perception about money, right? We don't
Yeah.
want to talk about money.
Hmm.
But the truth is, what happens from the door in is totally different, potentially, than what people perceive from the door out. That family was doing great. Maybe you don't really know that. They're driving the nice car, but you don't know if they're, by the bedside at night. Oh my God, please, God, help me because we're drowning here. You don't know, so you just have to be honest. Bottom line is, when you reach out and have that conversation with a financial professional, the best way that they can help you is when you are totally and brutally honest about where you are and where you want to go. That's the best way that we can assess how we can help get you on that path.
And so if
Oh,
somebody, oh,
it, so and to be okay with not being okay.
oh,
That's a big thing because trust me, you are more normal than you think. If you think, oh my God, I'm all sorts of messed up and I'm embarrassed to say what I've been doing, trust me, you're normal. That's the majority of the population. But the good thing is, if you're actually seeking out the help, you are better than average.
mm.
If you're willing to have these conversations, you are on the right path, but you have to be honest and willing to discuss these topics with a professional who can actually guide you there.
I love that. Thank you so much for mentioning that. Now, for the person who says, oh my gosh, I have so much debt right now, I don't think that Jorge can help me because I have nothing to invest. I mean, I'm squeezing out whatever I can to go buy groceries. Can you still help them?
Yeah, and yes, but that's a tough thing to talk about because there are certain people that really are way gone, right? There are ways, but the first thing is you need to start working on number one thing, what's between your ears. You got to start working on your mindset, making better choices. But the reality also, Dali, is that most people can save. The vast majority of people can save. They may feel that they can't, but they can. And what I tell some of the people that I work with is, look, if you don't save a little when you make a little, you're never going to save a lot when you make a lot.
Mhm.
Why? Because saving is a habit. If you can grab a penny and drop it in a jar, that's saving. But if you're not building that muscle of saving and investing, it's never going to develop magically overnight, right? I was just talking to somebody yesterday. It was like, look, you wouldn't expect to taste the fruit of a tree that you just planted today.
Right.
It's you have to care for it. It takes time. You got to water it. Same with financial planning. You can start, but it's going to take time. And sometimes it may feel like you're not making progress, but it compounds. It's building those habits. So, can you help them? Yes. How can you help them? Number one, if your finances are out of control, do a budget. Most people have never done a budget. Figure out where you're bleeding money. Figure out how much you're spending on stuff that you don't really need to impress people that you don't really like, and then take control of that. Do you really need Netflix? Well, you're barely paying your credit card debt. I'm sorry. I know you love the show, but you know what? What's better, your
Mhm.
financial future or watching this show? And go to a friend's house to watch the show. I mean, it's little habits being adjusted is what can compound. So yes, short answer, yes, they can be helped, but they have to be willing to be helped.
Got it. Got it. So then, okay, imagine same scenario. They need to create this budget, but they've never created a budget before. Can you help with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's different budgeting methods. I mean, you have the pay yourself first method, you have the zero based method, you have the 50-30-20 method, you have a bunch of methods. The important thing is that yes, it should be done. Thankfully, nowadays, you also can back them up by technology. There's multiple mobile applications that you can link up to your bank accounts and credit card accounts and investment accounts that can help you every time you swipe. The app automatically categorizes those expenditures to help you budget. But one thing that I recommend to everybody, technology is great, but there's something magical that happens when you actually put pen and paper. So the first budget that you make, I think that it's very, very powerful to have a sheet of paper. And by the way, I mean, people can go to my link on Instagram and download a free budget worksheet. Go online, Google budget worksheets. There's a ton out there for free, but do one and on paper, and then back that up with the use of technology to make sure that you're staying on track. One exercise that I help people with is to take control of their budget is grab the last bank statement for the last 2 months. Print out the last 2 months of bank statements and highlight all the things that you bought that were just things that you wanted, not things that you needed. And that's going to be eye opening for a lot of people. You know what? As a new habit, half of that amount, start investing, start using it to get out of debt. Something simple like that can really open the eyes of someone in keeping a budget. Another thing that I would recommend is tracking your net worth. That's that's a big topic. Why? Because when most people think about net worth, they think about, oh, net worth, that's for rich people. Well, no, that's for everybody. The middle class tends to focus on how much I get paid per hour. What is my annual income? The wealthy focus on increasing their net worth. So why don't we start adjusting our mindset and start making sure that we grow our net worth? So tracking that is also something that I highly, highly encourage anyone at all income levels to start tracking. So budget and net worth.
Awesome. I love it. You mentioned Netflix. And I've actually met people where I, as now an older, wiser person, knows better. I was advising this person. I was like, "Hey, you gotta cut out those wants." And they're like, "Oh, well, I'm not getting rid of Netflix. I need that." So this misconception, like how can you explain what a need is versus a want?
Well, and it's simple. A need is something that you need to survive. You need food. You need shelter. You, you need you need transportation. You need those are things that if you didn't have them, you couldn't get to your job. You can survive because you don't have food or those are your needs. Now, you what is a need? You need to get to your job. Now, do you really need the newest Mercedes, or can you go and take the bus? Can you take the subway? Can you take a Kia? Uh, there are choices, and what do you want to do? Do you want to impress everybody with the car you're driving, or do you want to make sure that at some point you can stop working because you have enough money to provide the passive income you need to be able to retire comfortably? The choice is yours. So yeah,
Beautiful.
needs versus wants is a big deal. One tip that I can do that I can recommend with that is when people are going to make a purchase, two things that you can do. Number one is give yourself, if it's anything over $100, give yourself a 24-hour cooling off period. uh, Man, I just saw this on TV. I love it. I need it. You don't, but I need it. Okay, give yourself 24 hours. If after 24 hours you still feel like you really need it, you don't. But if you feel you do, whatever that cost of that item is, divide it by your hourly rate, and then you can say, oh wow, that item is 8 hours of my time at work. Is it really worth it? 6 months from today, how am I going to feel about that? Is it really going to, am I going to be just as excited that I have it? If the answer is no, you don't really need it. And for most, that 24-hour cooling off period is just enough to say, yeah, you know what, that was just a great commercial, and that's it.
Oh my gosh, I love your examples. They're always so powerful. And, I used that when I was educated years ago on that cool off period and also asking myself, do I really need this? And I
Hmm.
remember the first few times I was like, not really. And it made me sad because I realized, dang, now I don't have an excuse, to buy it. But it helped me save so much money and become a better, more responsible and financially prepared person. But Jorge, you have dropped so many gems here. I love it. I feel like I can speak with you so much longer, but I don't want to take your whole day. So if people want to reach out to you, where can they contact you?
So they can go, they can link up with me, LinkedIn, Jorge Loyo. They can link up with me on Instagram. There's a link on my bio on Instagram, jorgeloyo.com, where there's some free videos that you can check out so you understand the difference between saving and investing. What is a mutual fund? Get some free resources so you can get started on your budget, tracking your net worth, figuring out how you can crowdsource the college education of your kids. There's some free resources you can get at jorgeloyo.com.
Wonderful.
Definitely, also you can link up and get some time with me to chat on a one-on-one. Which, by the way, I love having those conversations. So no stressing out about bringing up any topics. I love talking to people about it, and if I can help, happy to do so.
Awesome. And those one-on-ones, are they free?
Totally.
Great.
Yeah. It's look, like we said just a few minutes ago, right? They have to want to work with me. I have to want to work with them. And I think that a conversation just to get to know each other and find out if I can add value to their family is just worth the time. So I love having those conversations. Yeah, totally free.
Awesome. There you go. No excuses. Just ask the questions. Leave the shame behind. There's no shame here. That's the only way that you're going
That's
to
right.
grow. And Jorge is here to help you out. So thank you so much, Jorge. I appreciate you making time to come and educate my public. And hopefully you'll be back on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dali, for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Well, there you have it. I hope that you enjoyed that conversation. If you like this video, please follow this channel and follow me on Instagram. Subscribe to my newsletter so you can get updated on upcoming events, upcoming guests, and get additional resources. Thank you so much for watching.